Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Data Obsessed Fat Man. We are here to go over all of the numbers comprehensively. Some needs to be month over month, some needs to be week over week. There's even a couple that will even be year over year. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, let's go. Okay, so what you're seeing right here on the screen now is my starting point for all my body measurements. So not bad. This was taken about 2 weeks ago. And before we get into the new numbers, I just want to show you what it looks like when I'm actually doing the measurements. We put a red line across for each measurement so that you know exactly where to measure at. Okay, and this is where I am at today. So it definitely has some nice gains here, has some pushbacks. It's a weird balance, you know? And this is here to better contextualize it. So as you see, with my neck, I felt a lot like this guy on the screen here when I first saw my neck measurements. Moving beyond that, everything in green, of course, those are where measurements have gone down. Everything in red, those are where things have gone up. So as you see, the body redistributes things over time based upon what you're eating and how you're working out. And from what I can see here, yeah, I am overall close to being about the same, but I'm liking the progress in some areas. This also has definitely confirmed the inflammation that I was complaining about a couple of weeks ago with how I felt based upon food I was eating and how poorly I was sleeping. And so I'm starting to see that I'm able to recover from that, but I'll get into that a bit more later in the video. Okay, so not wearing the normal boxer style you should do here. Oh well, swaps it up. It's a different day. It's running short. It's laundry day too. And there was a blooper that I'm glad I cut out here. The fly was open first time around. Had to go back and do this again. But aside from this, I do these to show how I'm changing over time. And it's like, I have a lot of things about my body that I don't like. And I have a few things that I do, but overall I'm hoping to, when I reach my goal weight or my goal body type and size, that I can look back and this and like, that is no longer me. That is not me anymore. And that would be something that I will gladly, say and look at. So even though this is how I am now, I'm looking at this as somebody that I am killing right now. That is my goal. I am killing the current Dale. And this is not sped up at all. This is real time. This is my right calf, right leg, and the next one's going to be my left. As you see, there is a definite, buoyancy difference, and that's why I was talking about the inflammation and the different feelings in my legs. And just very quickly, I'm going to go over all the little individual measurements. These are just quick time graphs. I've only taken these measurements 4 times. And this is my neck. Started out big as heck, like Tyrone or whatever his name was before I went down. As you see here, again, shoulders going down. That's just somehow going down as well. Okay, now this is my waist. I originally thought that, hey, maybe it was because of the difference of who was measuring it this time, but no. That's me, my waist is getting bigger. Abdomen is also getting some extra girth. I took my seamstress friend to embarrassingly show me where my hips actually was. That and the app, I did not want to believe it at first. It's not looking so bad overall. Now, this is my left bicep, and with my biceps, I constantly measure them at what I see is their roundest part of them. They're actually kind of like booty shaped with a little crack in the middle. So if I measure them in the middle where you're supposed to, they would appear to be much smaller than they are. And I need to be accurate as if I was looking for clothes. So I go for the widest area so I can see real change over time. Same thing with my thigh and other parts, but it's most pronounced in the calves. I like how my left thigh is getting bigger while the right one's actually getting smaller. Now my left calf is actually going lower, but you see there, it's still bigger than when I originally started. That is definitely going to, vilify me for, the inflammation I was complaining about. There's a thickness that I felt. And my right calf feels normal, and it shows right here in the graph, so I know I'm not crazy. And this is just the waist to hip ratio. Apparently my waist to hip ratio is growing. Like, oh no. Some women would really love that. I don't like this. And ironically enough, I was raised in a household of all women with me being the only guy. My family has certain features and attributes that I just seem to be getting myself, even though being a guy. So there's certain things that come with my family. It's like, Just gotta deal with it. Okay, so now we're looking at my actual steps here. This is back from when I started going more hardcore into things I was tracking back in December of 2020. You see, this is what my activity level was like back then. And as you see now, January is poured in December. And I'm not showing the entire month, I'm just showing the first week for these. And I'm more active here, and this is mainly because of the step back. Also, I'm only doing the first week just so you can see snapshots in time how I did in general. And March was bittersweet. I enjoyed my activity level in March, but my body was very sore at that time too. The soreness that you see is reflected in my current activity level with me going back to being as sedentary as I used to be. Well, almost like how I used to be. And a year ago, I wasn't tracking anything at all in regards to my steps, even though I owned, Fitbits back then. So I'm going to do a similar thing with my weight here. I'm going to go every 7 days, starting from my first point of measurement with my current scale. And sometimes there will be overlaps when I don't have exactly 7 days to jump to. So let's move forward. And I'm also pairing this with my blood pressure. So same day, 174/95. First day I used my cuff. This scared the shit out of me. And as you're going to see here, my weight over the past few months is very, very reflective of my journey over the past few years. I take steps forward, I take steps back. Sometimes, I am yo-yo dieting. Sometimes I am just going very lazy. Sometimes I just say F it and I give up. Sometimes I really hunker down. So I know it's a bit rough. Like I want at the end of every month, or at least at the beginning of every month, to be able to see that I've made some progress somehow, some way. I don't want to go back anymore. Like, it'd be lovely to say that I would never be X weight again, but that hasn't been the actual case here, as you see. Sometimes I do trail backwards. Sometimes I am months just fighting around 1 or 2 pounds. But I started this journey, years ago. I should have wrote this date down. I covered in a previous video where, I finally found, hey, in my fitness pal, I started at 426.2 pounds at X day. Didn't start taking pictures till I was around 390, 380 something pounds. And I started YouTube when I felt, it would be nice to have some public accountability because, I start to get lazy when I only have to answer to myself. While I have plenty of needs and wants, plenty of desires to do this for myself, for my daughter, for a better life, it helps me out a lot to know that, or at least to feel that, I start this, I must finish it. I use my own personal psychology against myself in order to help myself at times, and this is one of those things. So thank you all for sitting out there and watching this and looking at this sort of thing. I get that this is boring as heck sometimes. I don't blame you. Feel free to skip whatever you don't want. I just have this out there so that I'm accountable. And hey, if I actually am a success one day, I would love to just point back here to show that I did it all publicly and it was all available. No lies, no BS. When I'm lazy, when I don't feel like doing something, If I'm doing something just because I feel like it and not for any objective scientific reason, I'm not going to BS about it. I've done horrible things, at least horrible, relatively horrible, that I pointed out on the channel, but I'm still moving forward. As Rocky said, it's about how hard you can get hit and still keep moving forward. So if I can keep moving forward through all this, I should eventually win, since that's how winning's done, right? And now we're getting a bunch of data about food tossed at us. Now it's not a lot to infer from them, or rather, it's not going to be what I actually ate day to day being shown here. You're going to mainly see the calorie count, and main macronutrients and protein, net carbs, and fat. Now, whenever it's empty, when it's showing nothing, that was the day where I was actually fasting. So, wasn't a day I forgot to do something. I was fasting quite a bit back in January and at the beginning, or at least half of February. I actually started to do YouTube because I was ramping up to do a 30-day fast. Much longer than any I'd done before. I believe the longest was, a 9-day fast. I only made like 3 or 4 days and just decided to do it for 3 days. I was training 3 days for a while, but I was eating so bad when I came off of the fast that I was negating not eating for 3 days at a time. So that's how I got to a current format of, okay, I'm just going to eat. I'm going to eat. I'm going to try to gear it towards eating properly. Again, eating towards my own real thought process, my real plans again, and try to lose weight with that. So fasting is a tool, exercise is a tool. There are so many other things you can use as tools, but your core main tool, your core main facet is going to be a good diet. And with my diet, the plan was to stick to being under 100 net carbs daily and overall for the week. But you see here, sometimes I fail to even meet that goal at times. The calorie limits that you see there on screen, that's actually set by the app. It's going based upon what it believes my base metabolic rate should be, or my total daily energy expenditure. And it says I should, stay under a certain calorie level within certain protein levels, net carbs, and fat. I just went to a total daily energy expenditure calculator earlier today or earlier Saturday, compared it against the app, what the app believe I should do, and I've set hard numbers, which you'll see right here at the end here. Those numbers would be what I will deal with as my limits going forward. And big thanks to Shiesty Right for that. I mean, I've used calculators before for keto, but I just looked up total daily energy expenditure calculator, and it made it very simple. I put it in as if I was sedentary, and I used different body fat percentage levels based upon what was shown last in my apps to help figure it out. And I just went with the lowest numbers. So basically what all this data tells us, what it all amounts to, is that year over year there's about a 24-pound difference in myself. And I can live with that. But I love how my blood pressure lowered over time, and how I'm consistently getting lower and lower numbers over time. And as you see here, my glucose, that started off at a ridiculously high level, and that got lower over time. Ketones go up and then they go back down to nothing again. I'm working on that, or rather I will be working on that. You can lose weight without ketones, but you can lose them a lot faster with them. But pretty much if your body's burning fat, there will be evidence of it, so you will have ketones of some type there. It's just under 2 millimoles per liter is mostly insignificant, and being at 0, I'm not at absolute 0 despite what it says. I am burning some fat, but it's at such a low level, it's insignificant. And I noticed that I got my most weight loss whenever it's at a 2 or higher. At least for the few times I was able to measure it. And I lost weight on other days, but they were in smaller amounts, and it was mostly just other biological functions that were fueling it. But as you see here, my blood sugar, at least, my glucose, they go down over time. And I wish that I had been able to take my, HbA1c at the beginning, but I have that number now. I'm at 6.5, the exact starting point of diabetes. I take the next test on, I believe, June 18th or 19th, I believe, the day before Father's Day. And that should tell me if what I'm doing is effective beyond just lowering my glucose. My HbA1c goes down, that would be great. And I don't just want to fall within the pre-diabetes level. I want to be even below pre-diabetes. But the numbers are both so high to where I would be considered diabetic now, but still so low to where the drops would not be as great versus someone else that would be coming from like another 13 or higher. Most other people that are deep in diabetes type 2 would be at. So we'll see how this works out. That was a lot. I mean, a lot. I mean, you just went through it. I don't have much more to say about that. Some of those numbers we'll go into deeper detail with in future videos. But I'm going to try to contextualize them more. Try to go a bit more into what my focus will be. And trying to cover all this now to give people that are new to the channel a baseline to look at. And I was planning to also cover my supplements and other things, but this video became long enough as is. So I'm going to cover my supplements, everything that's active, and another video coming within the next week. Or actually within this week, since it's now Sunday instead of Saturday. But God bless you all. Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.